I just ate
Ooh, this is good.
I just ate a whole loaf of pumpkin bread in the last 2 days. That was gluten-free from Trader Joe's.
Nice.
So I'm not buying anything else pumpkin.
Yeah.
Because it literally, I was like, how many calories is this? Oh, 890? Sure. Over 2
Sorry,
days.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
This is really good. So, the influencer that I sent you, Elyse Myers, like she's actually become super famous. Her podcast, before it even launched, became like #1.
Really?
Like just from the trailer. Like #1 in comedy, above Smartless.
What?
Yeah. From the trailer release. Like insane. Like I mean she just seems like a wonderful human being, person, like all around, like truly authentic, like
okay.
Like shows all of her anxieties and everything. Like
I love that.
Essentially the realest person on Instagram and TikTok. I don't do that though.
TikTok drives me nuts.
But like one of her snacks that she always eats is cashews and chocolate chips. And
so good.
Yeah, this I feel like would be her jam.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to listen to some of that. I need. Here's my deal. I'm finding that I am moving away from traditional media, which is very hard for me in my position. I tried to watch the Chiefs game, and I got so angry at all the fucking commercials because it's like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a commercial.
Yeah.
And I've been so used to being able to control that.
Yeah.
With watching through streaming and I was on Peacock, and I'm the idiot who didn't pay for the extra for there to be no commercials.
Yeah.
Because I really I didn't think it would bother me that much, but because I haven't been exposed than I was
Christine.
I was all wow.
I still watch Antenna TV, so I get all the cool local commercials.
Yeah. Okay. And you know what, I should, but I just for my mental health had to shut that shit down earlier this year, and I've gone so far to the other side where I control every piece of like especially on the TV, it's YouTube that's up, or it's Spotify, or it's
But as a marketer, like, don't you hate that?
Mm-mm.
Not for you personally, but like when you're trying to get your message across. And granted, like we're just talking TV commercials, and I feel like the companies that do invest in TV commercials, either they're really behind the times,
they are,
or it's these companies that like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. It's like, well, we've always done it.
Well, and the demo's older.
Yeah.
And because I feel like even sitting at 45, I'm probably not going to be the normal 45-year-old in that. No, what it made me do, because I've actually started to rethink some strategy for clients. I'm like, okay, if I'm this agitated and we start to market to younger people who are going to be that agitated, then I've got to come up with a plan. And are we hitting that in a different way? And the way you hit it is everywhere but that medium. Yeah. Because I'm okay with, like, there's ads all over my laptop right now. And I'm okay with email marketing. I'm okay with social media. I'm expecting them, right?
Yeah. But because even then you're controlling that to a certain degree. But especially with the email marketing.
That TV, woo! Yeah. I was wound up. I was like, fuck this. I pulled up the Chiefs app and watched it. It's like, no way. Okay. So ghosting. Do we want to just dig into ghosting?
Yeah, let's dig into ghosting. So yeah, this is going to be
a quickie. Well, it's not going to be a quickie, but it's not going to be like we're making love forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be get in, get out, get her done. Everybody will be satisfied, I promise. So we kind of came up with this idea of a podcast because we were messing around and we were talking about, in the same conversation, it was energy, souls, angels, ghosts, and then ghosting.
And ghosting.
If you had been ghosted by somebody. So it was like, okay, let's do something kind of random and talk about all the things.
Yeah.
And our conversation was so bizarre. So this podcast, I think, will be extremely unique. But it was because we talked about what is the difference between angels and ghosts.
Right. And there really isn't.
No.
Because that's how you look at it.
That's how you look at it. Because you brought up the whole energy, and we decided we'd learned this at some point in our education. But we're too young to.
Pretty sure in physics class. But yeah, and I think I tried to not eloquently like talk about this in a previous podcast.
Yeah.
So now I actually have the definition pulled up because clearly I was not an A+ student in physics.
We drank on that podcast too, so shit happens.
So it's the law of conservation of energy. So with this, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only converted from one form of energy to another.
Which is fact.
Yes.
So if we're...
Science.
It's science. Science is real.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I know, right? Bill was so sexy. But think about it. Like, if we're energy, which we know we're made up of energy,
Mm-hmm.
then that law holds true.
Mm-hmm.
So when we die, our energy has to transform.
Mm-hmm.
So does it transform to a ghost, to an angel, to another human? Like, it could do, I think, maybe all the above,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I think it depends on how much energy you have.
Well, and if you do invest in religion,
Yeah.
and you think of Hindu,
Yeah.
like, their whole thing is you're going to continue to...
Like reincarnation.
Until
right?
you have... And I think Native Americans are pretty close to this standard, too. Until you have learned what you needed to learn on that journey. Until you... What is enlightenment, I think, is what the Hindus call it. Or maybe the Buddhists. When you reach that, then it's... Your
Level
energy
of
disperses in a different way.
Yeah.
It doesn't continue to transform in, like, a human animal form.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I think everybody has looked
Yeah.
at that in a different lens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I was kind of thinking about this last night when I was laying in bed, and I'm like, I could come back as a ghost. Like, death doesn't really scare me.
Yeah.
I think when nobody's getting out of here alive, which is so
Yeah.
morbid, but we aren't.
But it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And so if you embrace death and embrace the law of conservation, is that what it was, a technical term?
Conservation of energy.
Okay. Who came up with that? Who created that?
Oh, let's see. As I have my very old lady
Oh, you having your old lady moment?
yeah. First proposed and tested by Emile
Yeah, it's a French dude.
Fuck the French. I can't pronounce anything that they come up with.
And they probably think our language is crap too.
Emile du Châtelet.
Okay, so it's a French guy.
Let's see if there's a pronunciation for it.
But
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
What?
I'm so horrible of a person. It was a female!
Oh, you are
Oh
bad.
my gosh. No, it's Emily, not Emile. Oh my gosh.
Shame.
Shame on me.
For shame. Let's blame it on the wine.
We're totally
Or
blaming it on the wine.
Or on the witch.
You go, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck me. I'm sorry. I did you injustice, and
But we're
I
gonna
will make up for it. I am so sorry.
Fixing that now. So she came up with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on the other Wikipedia page, if it would have had Gabrielle,
Like, come on,
I would have
people.
known that. But
I
like,
have Wikipedia.
you
Get
spell
your shit
Emily
together.
weird. I don't know that. I'm American.
American. Well, back in the day, we would have assumed it was a man, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, this was what, 1700s?
Yeah, we would not have even thought that a woman could have had the opportunity to discover something
So,
of that
Yeah. Okay. So just
magnitude.
side little footnote.
Fun fact.
Her most recognized achievement is her translation of, in commentary on Isaac Newton's 1687 book, Philosophy Naturalis Principia Mathematica,
Yeah.
containing the basic laws of physics. So, like, basically, yeah, she was a fucking genius.
Love it.
Ugh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, I bet she's cool with it. I bet she respects
Yeah.
you're admitting that we didn't
All right.
quite know how to read her name.
You're allowed to come haunt the shit out of me now.
Can you close the closet door on me slowly?
Yeah.
But so the whole ghosting thing, the angel, like all of that extra energy fascinates me because it's like part of me would think I would come back as a ghost and haunt the shit out of people for fun.
Yeah.
And for like some things, like there's been some bad decisions, like I can think of old lovers I'd like to scare the shit out of, right? But then, I'm also fascinated with history because I'm, a novice, but I love history. Like I know the top level stuff, and then I'll like pick a topic and sort of go down the rabbit hole and think that I'm an expert, and I'm probably not. But I've been to the Tower of London. Have you ever been to England?
I've been to London.
The Tower of London, where Anne Boleyn was beheaded. And
Okay, no, I haven't been
all the
there.
things. Okay.
So that's because that's different from the Tower Bridge.
Yeah.
Right,
So
okay.
the second, well, I've been there too. Second wife of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, was executed there in May after being accused of witchcraft, treason, incest, and adultery. Sightings of Boleyn's ghost have been reported at the Tower as well as in various other locations, including her childhood home. But then it goes on to this article talks about how Benjamin Franklin appears and Abraham Lincoln in the White House because he has his room still.
Yeah.
And it's I think that when you start to look at some of these stories, it's not that far-fetched because their energy, in my opinion, probably left the body and manifested the way it needed to.
Yeah.
But do you hang out in that, forever? I don't know. But
yeah,
it's kind of a cool concept.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have the option to be a ghost. And I do believe in guardian angels. So maybe there is a difference.
Yeah. I mean, because a guardian angel is meant to essentially look over one person.
No, not one person. Protects all. Oh my God, when we have Stephanie on the podcast, she has to talk. So, guardian angels have different, I don't want to say jobs, but it's Raphael. My first reading with Stephanie, she's like, your guardian angel is Raphael. And I'm like, who the fuck's Raphael? Never heard of him before.
Is he a hot Spaniard I had an affair with in a past life?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Tell me all about that.
So at the time, I just found out I was celiac, and I was dealing with, I had a high school friend die from cancer, which freaked me out and had me question my own mortality, things that happen in your 40s that don't happen in your 20s. And I did my first reading with her, and she was like, your guardian angel is Raphael. And I'm like, okay. And I said, what is that? What does that mean? I need some context.
Yeah.
And she said, he is a healer. So you're going through a health journey, which she had no idea about. She goes, and Raphael is he's here for you. He's here to guide you, to protect you. She's like, do your research on him. And so I did. And after researching him a little bit, green is his color, which is funny. He, if you see a shard of green light or whatever, you'll kind of, the saying is that he is present. Or if you are just kind of driving and you see flashes of green light, or let's say you're watching whatever, that's him. He's present. So he will, the deal is he'll protect unless the illness is part of your journey.
Oh.
Right?
Well, that's kind of a bummer.
Well, because you can't, in theory,
be
mess up the path, right? So depending on where you're going with it. But according to her, you can't mess up the path. So many times, I have said, Raphael, look after Sasha, because, my soulmate.
Yeah.
And so she did have a little mass earlier this year, and it could totally, I could be reaching, but you don't know what you don't know. She had a little mass on her leg. And so when they cleaned her teeth, they said, we'll just take that. Mm-hmm. And I said, what do you think it is? And most of the time the vet will say to me, this is not something to worry about, or this is something to worry about. But they were like, it's got texture. It could go either way. So it turned out to be something, the term they used was a hypoma, but puppies usually get them. Well, she's 9. Yeah. And the vet's like, I've never in all my years practicing seen a 9-year-old get that. The funny thing is that the texture of it changed over a week before it got taken off. So I keep praying, Raphael, and so in my head, I think that he looked after her. I have no proof of that, but it turned out the way I wanted it to. And so I do believe, not just because of that, but that's a very simple example of guardian angels.
Interesting. I thought a guardian angel was just like your grandma who passed away before you, just looking over you,
maybe
don't do stupid shit.
Maybe it can be. Maybe that's where we come back to ghost versus angel, right? That's an angel in our past that's not ghosting us. Yeah. Or scaring us or haunting us, but watching over us. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know.
But I didn't know there were actually established guardian angels.
There are. So they're called archangels.
Oh, I feel like I should know that. Mm-hmm. As aren't Catholics into that? I was such a bad Catholic.
I don't know because I'm not a Catholic. But there's 7. What are the 7 archangels of God? We have Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Celestial. There's a few of these I can't pronounce. Anyway, they each have like a responsibility essentially, and I think that can be translated however you want it to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Catholics believe in the archangels.
Is that?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Lucifer?
No.
No? Well, Lucifer's an angel by right.
Yeah, isn't like he's a fallen angel?
He's still an angel.
Yeah.
Did you ever read Neil Gaiman?
No.
Oh my god. So he was part of the Lucifer series. Lucifer was based on, I think, one of his books. I think it's a graphic novel. And the idea is that Lucifer's an angel. He still has his angel wings. And he goes to Earth to sow his wild oats. And the show is amazing because he still has the power that an angel would have. And as the series goes on, there's a season where God comes in. And so you have like all the archangels are essentially family. So you have like brother and sister squabbles, and God's the parent, and then you have the mother who is from another. Like it's very well written, but it's not. I mean, if you really start to dive into history and look at certain things, it's not too far fetched. So Lucifer is not. He's fallen, but according to God, wouldn't you be able to ask for forgiveness and be okay? Right?
I think that's how it's supposed to work. That's
to
how
be.
They teach it, but that's where like I got so fed up even as a young child, where it's like constant hypocritical like issues.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah,
I mean, there totally are. But I love the whole concept of him being an angel. He's just not following the rule. He's a nonconformist. So anyway, but I digress. Going back to the ghosting. So you said you'd had experiences, like, or you thought you had in your house, or no?
Yeah, I mean, so I've never seen a ghost or anything. I 100% believe in it because why not? If anything, it's just fun, in my opinion.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, because like all the ghost stories, like I can listen to ghost stories all day.
Okay.
But I live in a very old house built in 1895. The people that owned it first or built it, they were pretty prominent couple, not only like in the city, but their families were kind of like one of the first to settle the area. So like they go way back in like Kansas City history. And the guy that owned the house, like he was also a politician and actually ran against Harry Truman for like county judge. So which is what sparked Harry Truman's political career.
Okay.
And there's actually a book that states like Harry Truman had never been more in fear. Like this was after his presidency, that like he had never been in more fear than he was during that political race against the guy that owned my house.
Really?
Yes. So like, and he had been in a war, like obviously gone through so many political races after that. And then he said this after his presidency ended. Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
So, and like the guy that owned my house, he was very progressive for the time and everything. And the wife, she was very much a like social butterfly and everything. They only had one kid. And he died fairly young, like at 26. So he was asked by the president at the time to attend, not the Geneva Convention, but some convention, the League of Nations.
Okay.
The League of Nations in Paris. And he was in a train accident in Paris, or like right outside of Paris, and was one of 6 people that died.
Wow.
There. So, and like they didn't have any other kids, and the man ended up dying, like I think in the 50s, and then the woman who owned the house originally, she ended up dying in like the late 60s. So they lived like very long lives, especially for the time. But like, no, after I found out all of that, I'm like, oh, fuck, like,
yeah,
a broken-hearted mom, like you'd think that she would be haunting the place, but like never anything scary, but just weird things that happen. Like you will randomly get a whiff of like smoke, like cigar smoke or something like that, and obviously nobody in our family smokes. One thing that I find pretty crazy. So we have Roombas. Well, one isn't a Roomba. One is just like a shark vacuum on our second level. And then on our first level, we have a Roomba. Neither of them are programmed at all. We just run them when we feel like it.
Just walk by, push start.
Yeah. But also very different brands too. And they will both randomly go off.
Same time?
No, not necessarily the same time.
Just
but
random.
like randomly go off. And I always joke, I'm like, okay, the old lady's telling me it's time to clean. But
so it's the way you take it.
Yeah, it's the way I take it. So and like there's we have also very old wiring, so you can attribute it to that. Sure. Too. But there's like we've had like lights that flicker or whatever. I've also like when the girls were little, I had baby cameras in their rooms, and I don't know that I believe in all of the orbs and stuff like that. I just feel like that can be attributed to different like light sources and whatever else. But there were always orbs that would like float weirdly in the cameras. But there was one instance that was pretty like odd, and I couldn't explain it. When I would get notifications if there was movement in the room. Yeah. And so when the girls were at school or daycare and I was at work, and I always figured it was our dog walking through the room. I'm like, oh, let's see what Lydia's up to. So I'd pull up the camera. She clearly wasn't in there. And I'm like, well, there's movement. And so like you kind of like zoom out of the picture, and the fan is turning. Lights off, like the fan is turning, and not at like a level where it's like just the low level, like you turn the light off on the fan and so the fan can keep going. No, it's like slowly turning. Oh. And then it would just stop.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So
creepy.
Yeah, just some like weird instances like that.
Well, we
that
know
happen, but like never anything like in our area. There's always ghost hunters that like there's 2 museums across the street from us, so there's always ghost hunters that go through there, especially this time of year. So I like sitting on the front porch and watching them.
Have you seen any lately?
Oh yeah. Not in the past few weeks, but back in September, like early September. But one of the historical society ladies, they're like, yeah, they always talk about how they'd love to do your house, because apparently one of the previous owners would say they would walk down the stairs and see old man Montgomery, who was the man that originally owned the house, like sitting in the rocking chair in the front room. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like, no, I'm good.
I don't want to. Maybe before we sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. maybe it's sometime like that.
But
well, so I was telling you in the last podcast, because we are zooming these out today, man. That Buffy, my old neighbor, like can see and feel and do things that I don't think either one of us are capable of. And she lived in Atlanta for quite some time, and that you've got civil war country down there, right? So like in Savannah, Georgia, and things like that. So there was one night she went to go pick up one of her kids from a party. It was like a birthday party that had gone into like 10:30, 11 at night. And so she was on this really dark highway, and she saw what she thought was a man walking on the side of the road. And Buffy, like, I love Buffy. Like, I know Buffy came into my world for a reason. She pulled over, and I'm like, I'm not brave enough to do that. And she like was going to see if this old man, because she's like, he was an older man who was obviously having a hard time walking, and she goes, I thought he was walking to the gas station, that his car had been somewhere and that I didn't like see it or whatever. She pulls over to ask him if he needs help, and then he's gone. So she's like, that's weird. And she's like, okay, like, I haven't smoked weed, I'm sober. She's like, that's really weird. And then she gets back on the highway, and down the road she sees another one. And I think this happens like 3 times before she grasps that what she's seeing are ghosts.
So it was a different one. It wasn't the same one?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so for her to tell the story is 1,000 times better than me telling it. But she told it to me one night when we were just shooting the shit. I'm like, you are kidding me.
I need to meet Buffy.
Yeah, we need to have Buffy on, man. Yeah. She is such a hoot. But she literally has so many of those moments where and I think it's because she's so open
Yeah.
Buffy's a very non-judgmental person who is very full of love, and while her and her husband do very well, she does not, like, that is not the bane of her existence.
Yeah.
Buffy can live in a 2-bedroom apartment where she can live in a $1 million house and still be the same person.
Yeah.
And I think
that's
that,
admirable.
yeah, her authenticity allows her to, and I think maybe she has some gifts too that we don't have, that she can see things. But so, like, instead of confession or obsession, I thought we would, like, tell our best ghost story, but not like what we just shared, like, but like, you know, ghosting now, like the term is different, right?
Yeah.
So, like, ghosting now for the young folk
right,
is if you're ignoring somebody, right? And
right.
Like, essentially you're ghosted if you're talking to somebody and they just stop talking to you.
Yeah.
So, like, have you ever been ghosted, or have you done the ghosting? And if you, like, have one of those you want to share.
So I've never been ghosted, but I don't think I've ever ghosted anyone.
What?
Either.
No?
So there's 2 that come to mind.
Okay.
One, when I was like 16, I still feel super guilty about this. I was asked to babysit for this new couple. I had never met them. I'm like, my name was given to them by like a family friend or something. Well, my boyfriend at the time wanted to hang out, and I'm like, well, I'm supposed to babysit, but like, yeah, I could probably do it. So I called this couple, and like, but I do leave a message saying like, hey, I'm sorry, something came up, I can't babysit tonight. But like, as a parent now, like, that's so frustrating, and I would be so upset, and like, I'm so mad at myself back then, and I felt super guilty then too. To the point where, like, I ended up not even going and hanging out with my boyfriend.
Aww.
But, like, I also couldn't go back on it either. So, like, I don't know.
And you still are holding on to that, like, how many years later?
God. Well, okay. 16. No,
yeah.
God, more than 16.
It's
18 years later.
I was like, it's more than 16.
19 years later.
But I wasn't going to call you out on it.
Math. Mental math. Mm-hmm. And then the other one in college, like, I guess I was kind of ghosted by this guy, but not, like... So we had classes together, but the classes were big enough where it's just like, we kind of knew each other. Like, yeah. I knew his name just because I thought he was cute, and I had friends that knew him. So they're like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. But he had no idea who I was. But anyway, at a party, which happened to be on my birthday, we went to, he was there, and after the liquid courage that I had plenty of at that time, I just walked straight up to him and said, hey, you're so-and-so. I'm, Kelly. I think you're pretty cute. And so we made out.
Like you do.
Like you do. And so I'm like, cool, now he knows who I am. And then so the next day, or, the next week in class, like, I, like, waved to him, and, like, he just, like, has, like...
Like, you didn't even know him.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. Like, fuck me.
Yeah. That's a go fuck yourself, though. That's not a fuck me.
Yeah, so...
Because I doubt that you were a bad kisser, and you're pretty hot, so he just didn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, I definitely, like, it ended up much better anyway, because he ended up going to, like, small town Kansas, which, like... Fuck that.
Fuck that. Oh my God, that's awesome. What do you feel about ghosting? How do you feel?
I think it's rude. Yeah. Come on, grow a pair.
Yeah.
Just, like, if you don't want to be, like, continue a relationship, just say it.
So, but there's points where, because my story is wrapped around that. Like, I did it recently, and I'm not proud of it. And I say recently, so it was about last year at this time. And we have a mutual friend in our world that I had really struggled with for a while. And her and I had a couple of conversations that she just wasn't getting what I was throwing down. And, when you're in that moment and you're trying to tell someone, hey, I just don't know if we can be friends anymore. That's a hard conversation to have, right? Just like breaking up with somebody is too. And I was like, I think I'm not agreeing with some of the things you're doing. You obviously don't like some of the life decisions I've made. And I just don't know being friends is a great idea, that conversation didn't get handled well. And so instead of like just rehashing the same
conversation,
I just stopped. So I know it qualifies as ghosting, but in my mind, I felt like I said what I had to say. You're not changing my mind. I'm exhausted with this conversation. So
yeah.
I'm like, she would text and I'm like, nope, nope, nope. And to the point where I had invited her to because I have my annual birthday party bash, and I had uninvited her, which I've never done I've never.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't think this is the place for you. We haven't gotten through this conversation. I think it would be awkward if you were here.
Yeah.
And she was not letting go. It was hard. I've never had like, it's different when you're dumping a guy.
Yeah.
Or a guy's dumping you. But to like end a friendship is so tricky.
Yeah.
And I really do feel bad about how that ended, but I don't know how else it would have ended.
Yeah.
So like I did ghost her technically, just stopped communication.
Yeah.
And then she had some trauma that happened right after that. And I had another friend that did too. And I was like, I can't handle both of this. So she had reached out after that and said, I really miss having you as a friend. And I'm like, oh, you really didn't get it, man. Like, I can't be your friend. Like, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
And it was a very hard place to be. And I think at some point you go, I can't say anything else.
Yeah.
Which I guess is different than somebody being a chicken shit and not being able to tell you the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a delicate situation.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's not like you want to do that.
But you have to at some point protect your own space, which is just as important.
Yeah.
I'd never been in a moment like that before. So I do think I ghosted her. I'm not quite proud of it, but anyway. I know. We ran through this one because you got to go pick up kids. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. On the dot.
All right. That's the money. That's it.
Well.
That's it. Well, then that's
the ghosting.
That's the ghosting.
We're going to ghost you.
We're going to ghost you. And we're out.